Let's continue our lecture video in Highway and Railroad Engineering for Module 7 Traffic Engineering, Road Signs, and Pavement Markings. Now, in this part 3, we will have pavement markings. Now, pavement markings take the form of lines, symbols, messages, or numerals and may be set into the surface of, applied upon, or attached to the pavement. Pavement markings used as a supplement to other traffic control devices such as traffic signals and road signs. Pavement markings may simply guide traffic or guide advance warning, or they may impose restrictions supported by traffic regulations. So itong mga pavement markings natin, they may be in the form of lines na nakamark sa ating mga kalsada or objects na nakabalandra just to guide or give warning sa kalsada natin. Now, these pavement markings have 6 types. The first one, we have the longitudinal lines. Now, these longitudinal lines have 6 types also. We have the separation lines, the lane lines, the barrier lines, edge lines, continuity lines, and the transition lines. Isa-isahin natin. The first one is the separation line or the center line. Used to separate opposite traffic movements of an undivided roadway and is generally placed centrally on all roads and bridges 6 meters or more in width. So, if yung road natin is meron ng 6 meters or more na luwang, then there is this, pwede na maglagay ng separations line to separate the opposite traffic. Merong sa kabila, sa right, will be pa-norte, yung isa pa-south. So, that happens when it is 6 or more in width. And this separation line, straight yan, solid line. Number 2, lane lines. Used to separate adjacent lanes of traffic moving in the same direction. So, unlike dun sa separation line na it separates opposite traffic movements, but these lane lines, they separate the lanes, but the direction of the vehicles will be the same. Number 3, barrier lines. Double unbroken yellow line. Used only when overtaking from both directions of the road and all crossing movements are prohibited. Single unbroken yellow line. Used where overtaking from both directions of the road are prohibited. However, crossing movements are permitted. Combination of an unbroken yellow line and a white separation line. Same as double unbroken yellow line for vehicles proceeding in the direction where the unbroken yellow line appears on the right of the markings, but vehicles on the other direction are permitted to cross the line. So here are the pictures. Here is the center line or the separation line. As you can see, meron siyang solid straight line na yan. Crossing of solid white lines requires special care and is discouraged kasi opposing traffic yan, opposing travel yan. Number 2, we have the lane line. Changing of lane is allowed provided that it is safe to do so and will not result in obstruction. So again, parehas ang direction ng travel dito sa lines na to. Okay. Then we have the barrier line, double solid yellow lines. Never cross to pass another vehicle unless permitted. Then we have the single solid yellow line, means overtaking is prohibited on both directions. So ito yun, and it is solid yellow line. Then we have the broken yellow line, means passing is allowed. So here is the broken yellow line. Then broken and solid yellow lines. Overtaking is permitted on the side of the broken line but not on the side of the solid line. So kung yung vehicle mo is nandito sa side na to, since nasa kanya yung broken line na yan, so it is permitted to overtake. But as for the vehicles on this lane, well, hindi siya, since solid line ang nandito, hindi siya pwedeng mag-overtake dyan. So here it is. This is the separation line as was indicated, and these are the lane lines. So yan sa taas, meron din dito sa kabilang side, and these are the dimensions commonly used when marking the road. So for the edge line, we call this the edge line, we have 100 mm to 200 mm width. Then for this lane lines, we have the 150 mm minimum. Then we have the separation line, we have 150 mm to 200 mm dimension. Now here is yung double solid yellow line kanina. Overtaking prohibited in both directions and all crossing movements are prohibited. Vehicles must keep at right of the double yellow line. So here's again the dimensions, the width of the lines. Next, here a single yellow line, solid yellow line. Overtaking permitted in one direction only. Direction in which overtaking is prohibited. And then we have here direction in which overtaking is permitted because it has the broken line. Then here's the dimension again for the width of the lines. Edge lines used to delineate the edge of the traveled way to distinguish it from the shoulder area. Purposes: to discourage travel on shoulders, to make driving safer and more assured, particularly at night and during inclement weather, by providing a continuous guide for the driver. To act as guide past objects which are close to the edge of the pavement and which constitute a hazard. Then the fourth purpose is to prevent parking at or near intersections. So here is our edge line. So this is our edge line. So very useful as guide for drivers. Next, number 5, we have the continuity line. When a driver see a continuity lines on the left side, means the lane is ending or exiting and that the driver must change lanes if the driver wants to continue in the current direction. Continuity lines on the right means that the lane will continue unaffected. So we have our continuity line. Then, number 6, we have the transition lines used to guide traffic safely past obstructions on roadways such as islands, median strips, bridge piers, or indicate changes in the width of the traveled portion of the roadway and an increase or reduction in the traffic lanes. So here is the transition lines in this yellow circle. So we have here a island. Next, for the transverse lines, so this is different with the longitudinal lines. Kung napansin nyo, yung longitudinal lines natin is almost parallel siya with the direction of your travel. Now we have here the transverse lines, and we have here the stop line should be placed across appropriate portion of the roadway at positions where vehicles are required to stop So this is actually dapat stop yan. In compliance with the stop sign, traffic signals, or any other legal requirement. Now from this definition of the stop line, you might visualize already that this transverse line is almost perpendicular siya sa direction of travel mo. The giveaway line. Markings consisting of two adjacent broken white lines across the carriageway at which the driver must give way to all traffic in accordance with R1-2 or the giveaway sign. Next, number 3, pedestrian crossing markings, zebra crossing or unsignalized, generally assist pedestrians and usually prioritize pedestrians depending on the locality. Crosswalks, signalized, clearly separate when each type of traffic, pedestrian or road vehicles can use the crossing. So from the word signalized, sinisignal niya kung sino pwedeng gumamit ng road. Roundabout holding lines. Vehicle within the rotunda have the right of way over vehicles which are just about to enter. Yes, that's right. Ang right of way ay nasa mga vehicles na nasa loob mismo ng rotonda. At yung mga papasok pa lang, dapat mag-give way sila. So, here is our stop lines. Vehicles are required to stop before the white line. So, here is the stop line. Nakalagay yan. So, if you notice it when you're traveling, doon sa lane, halimbawa, itong lane na to, gano'n ang direction niya. And then, there is another lane doon sa kabila, opposite direction sila. So, mapapansin nyo na kalahati lang ang nakalagay na stop line. Indicating na mag-i-stop dyan is yung nandito na direction ng travel. Next, number 2, we have the giveaway or holding lines. So, ito siya. Are markings consisting of two adjacent broken white lines across the carriageway at which drivers must give way to all traffic in accordance with the standard sign. So, andito yung standard sign natin, which is the giveaway sign. Tinutukoy niya na giveaway or holding lines ay ito. Then, meron din sa kabila. Okay. Two adjacent broken white lines. Then, we have the pedestrian intersection. Ito yung non-signalized, wherein napaprioritize yung mga pedestrian. So, this is the non-signalized pedestrian intersection. So, given the priority for the pedestrian, meaning you are required to stop kung may dadaan. Wherein dito, signalized pedestrian intersection, kung mapapansin nyo may stoplight, yan ang nag-i-indicate kung sino pwedeng gumamit ng kalsada. If it is colored green there, obviously, ang mag-go dyan or gagamit ng kalsada is the vehicle. But, if that is red, the color of the stoplight is red, meaning, ang gagamit na niyan will be the pedestrian. Next, number 4, we have the roundabout holding lines. Vehicle within the rotunda have the right of way over vehicles which are just about to enter. So, dito sa drawing natin, ang holding lines ay this one here, holding line. So, these are the holding lines. Parang yung giveaway sign, yung giveaway kanina, this one, giveaway or holding lines kanina. So, this is intended for those vehicle na papasok doon sa rotunda. Meaning, they were being said na they need to give way for the vehicles that were already inside the rotunda. Okay. Next is the other lines. C. Parking bay is used to park but take note of the PW parking spaces. Then we have the loading and unloading bay line, lane line is an unbroken white line used to indicate the proper location of loading and unloading zone of public utility vehicles, preferably with parking restrictions. So, ito yung loading and unloading bay lane line natin. Do not block intersection. Lines consist of yellow box within the intersection and yellow diagonal lines forming an X inside the box. The box should be open or no vehicle should stay inside the box to avoid obstruction to other vehicles. Kung papansinin niyo to, madalas natin to nakikita sa mga intersection, especially sa mga big highways natin. So, dapat walang any vehicle in there to cause obstruction. Turn line is used to guide vehicles through a turning movement at intersection. So, we have there the turn line. Bus and PUJ lane line, or the bus and public utility Jiffy lane line, is an unbroken yellow line used to separate other vehicles from buses and PUJs and supplemented by raised pavement markers on concrete pavements. Ito yung raised pavement markers natin, if you notice from the picture. And then yung bus and PUJ lane line natin is medyo malabo ito. So if you see the color yellow there, that is the bus and PUJ lane line. So dapat nandyan is the buses and PUJ lane line. We have the object markings. So these object markings, movable, may movable, pwedeng matanggal, which is the cone here, cones. And then meron yung hindi na matatanggal, the markings on curves. So dapat naka-reflectorize din yan. We have their objects adjacent to the roadway, barriers, concrete or plastic barriers. The raised pavement markers, yung pinakita natin kanina, the raised pavement markers, and this one is the cat's eye, and you can notice this gabi. Siyempre, you can see the reflectorized there. So that's the cat's eye. And other markings, curb markings for parking and loading and unloading restrictions, approach markings to islands and obstructions. So this one is yung pa-letter V. That's the marking to approach to islands and other obstructions. Chevron markings are often used to guide traffic into the right turning lanes separated by an island, such as a corner island at a signalized intersection. So in this picture, we have the yellow circle. Those are chevron markings. So it guides the traffic into the right turning lanes. So we have there the right turning lanes. Rumble strips are thermoplastic lane marking designed to aid and provide motorists with visual, audio, and motion warnings on the road. Rumble strips are highly visible horizontal lines on the road that produce a humming sound and ample bumpy ride to the motorist when run over. This means driver must slow down. Rumble strips. Railroad crossing ahead. So when you see these markings on the road, be aware that there is a railroad crossing ahead. Motorcycle lanes. Lane allotted for motorcycle riders and can be shared by other vehicles. Riders are not allowed to stay on other lanes unless instructed by enforcers or the rider is turning into an intersection and must signal his or her intention within 100 meters. So, here, namarkahan na, itong lane na to is for the motorcycle. According to the definition, it can be shared with other vehicles, but as much as possible, motorsiklo lang ang dyan. And hanggat maaari, huwag sanang lumipat yung motorsiklo sa ibang lane unless magkakailanganin niya to turn into an intersection. And again, sana within 100 meters yung signal na ibibigay niya para mag-turn siya. To signal the vehicles na magta-turn siya. Bus lane. Designated lanes for buses. So, yung nakalagay dyan, bus lane. Bus drivers are not allowed to use other lanes except when instructed by enforcers or when turning into an intersection. Same with the motorcycle lane. Pavement arrows used for lane control and in white color. So, you can turn here. U-turn. Next, for bicycle only. Painted in the pavement by a solid white line along either side of street. Same with the motorcycle lane and bus lane. Speed limit at 60 kilometers per hour. A speed limit of pavement markings to supplement the speed limit posted on the roadside. Ayan, may markings na nga sa kalsada, then lalagay pa ng markings doon sa may roadside. In case na hindi mapansin yung isa, well, either doon sa lalagay na road sign, well, at mapipigilan yung driver to increase the speed over at 60 kilometers per hour. Okay, so that's all for this module number 7.